Hey everyone, Professor Oak. We have pretty cool video today, just talking about Q3 output from PSA for WOTC cards, WOTC Pokemon cards. Dan, Catch 'em All Collectibles, let me borrow his hat that he just got. Very kind of him. So I figured I'd put that on, give a little plug there for Mason. And yeah, let's jump straight into it. I hope you're all doing well. I know there's been a few of you affected by the hurricane, so thoughts are with you. Let me know in the Discord if there's anything can help you guys out with too. So let's jump into it. You can see here, start straight out. I pulled the data for the last quarter, cleaned it, corrected it, tidied it up, and threw it in here to display. You can see here, base. We're now at over 500,000 base cards graded by PSA. Last quarter, this quarter that we just went through, we have 57,000 that hit for base. That's first aid unlimited. It's all base cards. Out of that, we have roughly 4,500 were a 10. Hit a 10 out of the ones that were submitted, and out of that 91 were a 10 hollow, which gives us you can see here 0.16 PSA 10 hollow rate for that quarter, which is incredibly low. Jungle, the next one here, you can see is pretty comparable. So the numbers are a little bit below half in terms of how many they graded. A little bit higher of a 10 rate, but the 10 hollow rate was 0.15. So that's actually the lowest 10 hollow rate, I think, out of all the data. We'll go through some of the other sets, but that's crazy low. Like 0.15% of the cards PSA graded last quarter were a 10 hollow, and 0.16 for base. To me, that's crazy. Definitely a lot of common and uncommons, I'm guessing, from binders, lower grade hollows that maybe weren't stored very well, that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's definitely low output there. Moving into fossil, a little bit better, not a huge difference. They graded 23,000 cards from the fossil set. 2,500, 2,600 ish hit the 10. Giving a little over 10% gem rate, but just 97 were a 10 hollow there. So again, pretty low, less than 0.5%, one in 220, something like that, that actually hit the 10 hollow. Crazy low. Moving into base 2, 7,500. Obviously, there is definitely less here getting submitted. They've only had 53,000 submitted total of base 2. It's not a super popular set, but lower actually for the 10 rate, much lower quality. Hey baby, sit down. My dog is digging up the bed. Sit down, baby. And yeah, 6.8% there for the 10 rate on their gem rate. It's also otherwise known as quite often, and 0.32% were hollows in a 10. Moving down to Rocket, we can see they're averaging 23,000 the past couple of quarters. Similar for the 10 gem rate and the 10 hollow rate. Not too far off either. Maybe a little higher this past quarter, but less than 1% chance of getting a 10 hollow and about 10% of a 10. 1 in 10 Rocket cards hitting a 10. Let's move a little bit further down to here. We've got Heroes. Gym Heroes, 8,000 cards they knocked out. 700 of them were the Gem 10. 130 were a 10 hollow, which is significantly higher. You can see here. 130 of them out of 8,000, 1.5, 1.6% were a 10 hollow rate. Comparing that to the previous ones we just talked about, I mean, double, quadruple you know, going back to these guys, I mean, it's a 10x, literally 10 times more likely to get a 10 hollow, you know, PSA were in this past quarter. Pretty interesting. Challenge, much higher 10 gem 10 rate there. So we've got 16% of the cards submitted. They submitted 8,700. They went through that last quarter. 1,400 ish were a 10, and 242 were 242 were a 10 hollow. So again, much higher, almost double the heroes, and heroes was double up to 10x the previous sets on the 10 hollow gem rate. So super wacky numbers there. Heroes and challenge, maybe it's easier, better quality sets that for printing. Maybe just less of the common and uncommons were sent. I don't think there's too many. Generally, people are sending in the nice hollow cards from those sets, so a little bit easier to attain and price point too. Neo Genesis, looking at about 10% gem rate for their 8,600 was submitted, and 67 hit the 10 hollow, so less than 1%. They're moving into Neo Discovery, Neo Revelation, pretty similar in terms of the gem rate. They both had about 3,000 submitted, 3 to 350 hit the 10 for each set. But the Discovery, they had basically double the chance of getting a 10 hollow there. Maybe there was some more submitted that were from one person that had a better quality collection or something, but yeah, much more hollows hit the 10 there for this quarter. Moving into Destiny, numbers jump up a little bit again. We've got 4,000 were submitted, 500 were the 10, and 55 hit were a 10 hollow. So you got 1.39% there, much higher number for the 10 hollow rate there, and 12.49%. You know, people have referenced, I think I heard Dan actually, Catch More Collectibles, talking about currently modern Pokemon, they're in about 30-35% gem rate with PSA. So this just shows how significantly lower quality the cards are that were sent in from WOTC, which is understandable with the age and the kind of people that were submitting at that time. Moving into Legendary Collection, obviously we've talked about this before in the comments, but 4,000 submitted, 200 hit the 10, but 5% were 10. So that 200 is 5%. That's pretty low compared to some of the others. You know, a 5% gem rate is definitely much lower. Only 4 were 10 hollow. Crazy low. Obviously, you know, 1 in 1,000, 0.1%. So mostly I think people shooting for reverses. Obviously it's more likely, but this just shows how low pop those hollows are. Maybe there's less demand, but it still seems to me like there's a play there. I've seen some sell for a couple of decent prices. There's definitely a play there if you can find some hollows, I would think, for the lower pop ones. Expedition, huge increase in gem rate here. They graded 4,200, a little under 800 hit the gem rate out of that, so almost 20%, you know, 18.5% gem rate. Much higher, better quality cards being submitted and graded there for Expedition. Almost 2% hit the 10 hollow. There's some beautiful hollows in that set, obviously very desirable, but that's definitely one of the higher ones. And Aquapolis, 1,500, much less cards submitted, 1,600 got graded for Aquapolis that quarter. 157, so almost exactly 10% gem rate there. And 63 hit the 10 in a hollow, which gives us 4% 10 hollow gem rate for the hollow cards, which is huge. I mean, that's absolutely monstrously bigger than the other sets that we just went through. So maybe better quality print in there. I know last time, you can see here last quarter, it was half that for the hollow gem rate, and they had graded almost, I don't know what's that, 2.5x, sorry, 1.5x, a little bit more. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe just a better quality collector again sent a couple of cards that they had in binder and were all perfect pack fresh. But crazy jump there. That was super interesting to me. Moving into Skyridge, we'll keep it at the bottom here while I finish this. 2300-ish got submitted for Skyridge, 500 hit the 10. That's the biggest gem rate out of any of the sets. So Skyridge, basically a quarter of all Skyridge cards hit a 10, which is insane. And then almost 4%, pretty close to 4%, hit a 10 in a hollow. So again, huge numbers. These later sets, the numbers are significantly higher, maybe more well preserved, less kids touching on, less of the same kind of people that were collecting back on base jungle fossil. The numbers were so much lower, but clear distinction between them. I hope you guys find this as interesting as me. I think it's super interesting, but you can do this whatever you think. So whatever you think of this. So let's look at the current actual pops. So total cards for WOTC that PSA have graded is 1,579,157. So almost 1.6 million WOTC cards graded now with PSA, which is huge amount of WOTC, absolutely huge. And they still sell every day. It's crazy. A little over 250,000 of those are in 10s, so there's plenty of 10s out there still. And we have 45,620 at 10s and a hollow. So massive numbers there. Definitely not anywhere near the amount that they're grading. You can see here, for those sets that we went through, we're looking at about a 10% gem rate. Going back a couple of quarters, last quarter we're at 11.6% gem rate, and the previous pop when we started pulling the data was 20%. So you can see this as they finished out the backlog from the boom there, much less better quality cards there being submitted and graded. Definitely a lower 10 population coming out. And you can see here the 10 hollows. I mean, we started, they were at a 4% rate, basically gem rate for the hollow cards in WOTC. Last quarter it was 0.7. So clearly a huge drop there. Do with that, whatever you will. We only got 1,200. So what's that? 400 per month, essentially 400 a month of 10 hollows that PSA knocking out for WOTC. Not a huge amount, guys. Not a huge amount at all. It's pretty interesting. Looking at about 90% are graded through 1 through 9 is what I calculated out. So you 9 out of 10 times you're not going to hit a 10. Essentially through this backlog. Now the other part of this to follow up on after this, I think they caught up with the backlog. We have $18 grading, $15 grading now as of today. I believe we have $18 special subs coming back, $30 subs coming back. I think they caught up with those old value submissions. So I think now we need to be thinking about what is this going to look like with WOTC that's been submitted after that. I'm thinking there's going to be a pretty significant drop in the volume, the amount, but sorry guys, the actual volume being submitted and graded. Since this, so these future quarters, the end quarter of this year, I think it's going to be super interesting just to look at for, I'm thinking probably the higher tiers, some of these specials that have been run. I don't think people are submitting low quality binder cards from their childhood as much right now. And these are the kind of numbers that we're going to be looking at. The kind of submissions are the ones being submitted these past couple of months that we're going to be looking at in next quarter. So I'm very excited to see what that looks like to finish the year out and see. I'm thinking the TEM gem rate is going to be a little higher and the holo rate might be a little higher, with people being a bit more conscious about what they're submitting, more educated. There's more people grading nicer, higher end cards just because of the price point of the grading currently in the past couple of months. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If there's anything I missed, anything you agreed with, didn't agree with, anything you're going to use this data with, any ideas you've got from it. I love talking about this stuff. So yeah, let me know. Sorry for the interruptions. My dog's sick right now, but hope you guys see ya.